We're going to go through how to quickly set up a Cloudlink modem that's in an EC350 using a template file. First, I'm going to check my settings, make sure my infrared device adapter is selected, hit OK, and then I'm going to come down here and click on the connect icon. Once the dashboard is finished loading, I'm going to go to the View and Edit screen. Now there's a bunch of items that we need to go into and set, or at least confirm. A lot of them are going to be down under radio configuration and radio parameters. But rather than have to do them all one by one, we can have a template file that's already set up containing that. The way I do that is just go in, download an item file from an existing unit, and then open it in Windows Explorer, File Explorer, Windows Notepad, cut out the items that I don't want to send to another unit, like serial numbers, corrected readings, and I'm left with a small file that I'm going to save as a template. Now, if I were connecting directly to the Cloudlink modem with the RS-232 or RS-45 Cloudlink programming cable, I would have down here seen that I'm connected to just a Cloudlink. And so when I go to look for item files to send or save from the Cloudlink, they would have a .icl extension. Since I am going into this through the EC350, I'm linked as really, as far as Mashlink's concerned, as an EC350 or EC350 plus Cloudlink. So I have to have my item file saved as a .ecl file. The item numbers are going to be the same, it's just that Masterlink wouldn't show that file to me otherwise. So I've already pre-configured this file, so I'm going to go ahead and open, and this is just going to give me a preview. Some of the important items that we're going to set in here are the APN name. This is the default for a public static IP address on Verizon. The TCP port number. In addition to knowing the IP address of the modem, we have to tell the modem what TCP port or channel within that IP address to direct to the serial port, which then goes to the instrument. By default, we're going to use 12345. Sometimes at the factory they will configure a modem and you'll see them come out with a default port number of 40001. So if you try one and it doesn't work and you're trying to do a dial out to a modem that you didn't know how it's configured, it's probably going to be either 12345 or 40001. The other thing that's critical is the modem, the Cloudlink, does not read the SIM card every time it powers up. It does this to save power. It takes about 20-30 seconds for it to read the SIM card. It's a very slow serial connection inside the modem. Then that has the modem awake and the cell modem part turned on. So that's in a pretty high current mode. So to minimize that current consumption, we are going to read this only on command. The way we tell it, the modem, to do this, instead of saying read SIM card, we've cleverly named it fetch radio parameters. And by default, you will see this in the modem showing clear. What this does when we write this, change it to set and write it to the modem, then when we cycle the power, it'll find that when it wakes up and says, oh, this time when I woke up, I need to read my SIM card, because it may have changed. The other thing that's a critical item to set in the modem is this modem change battery. What that does by setting that, it's another temporary flag, it just sets and then goes back to clear. That resets all of the modem's battery calculations of battery life and sets that cycle back to 60 months or 5 years that it's going to count down. The other thing that I'm doing in this mode, just for testing, is I'm setting this for the modem MI wireless enabled. What that does is it has the modem on full time, so that if I want to do a test call out to it, the modem will be on, it'll be active, it'll be getting onto the Verizon network. I always like to do that the first time I set up a modem, just to verify that the SIM card is right. Very often I've gotten SIM cards and there's been something wrong in the Verizon system setup. So I know that once I get done and I do a call out to it, everything's good. I need to come back here and I'm going to go into the view and edit screen, and I'm going to change this back to disabled. And anytime I change this or this or this, I need to cycle the power of the modem after I write those items to the unit and do a disconnect. If you don't do a disconnect before you cycle the power to the modem, sometimes items will not get saved. So always make sure that you do that disconnect. All right, so I've got all these things in my item file. I'm going to go ahead and send it to the device. All right, so that is all finished. I'm going to do my disconnect. And I'm going to come over and cycle the power on the modem. And I say that we don't want to set that MI wireless enabled on the modem. That's, of course, unless I have external power, whether it's an AC supply or a solar battery or something like that. If I'm just running on the lithium batteries, if I were to leave that in that MI wireless mode, it would run those batteries down in just a matter of days by having that modem on full time. So I'm going to go down to my radio configuration screen, and I see that fetch radio parameters is still set to set. So what I just have to do is keep refreshing this screen or go out of it and come back to another screen until I see that go to clear. And that's when I'll know that this has read the SIM card. The modem will have read the SIM card. So to refresh the screen, I can just click the select all checkbox at the top and say read, and that'll force it. Or if you go to another screen and then come back. So you see how long it's taking it to read the SIM card. Okay, when we see this, that the fetch radio parameters has gone back to clear, that means it has finished reading the SIM card. And if I go to my radio parameters screen and I look at the card that came with the SIM card, I'll look at like the last 3 or 4 digits and say, okay, the odds of having 2 with the same 3 or 4 digits at the end are pretty obscure. I'm pretty sure that I've got I've read my SIM card. So now that we have the modem, we know that it's read the SIM card. We can go ahead and take a look inside the modem, and with the 1.000.2 firmware, and when we're in MI wireless mode, we're going to get some nice diagnostic displays that will show us that the modem is on or is trying and unsuccessful to get onto the Verizon network. So looking at the LEDs in the modem, if I'm looking at it in an EC350 in this orientation, this is LED 1 all the way on the left, and then there's 2, and then there's 3, 4, 5. But 2 I'm looking for right now are 1 and 2. 1 tells me my network status, and when that's flashing, it's trying to get on the network, but it's not yet on. When I get connected to the Verizon network, that's going to go solid. So that's good. The second LED is my signal strength, and it has 3 flash modes: slow, medium, and fast. And this looks like it's, I guess, medium. In the manual, it tells you how many flashes per second. So that's good. It looks like I'm on Verizon and I'm ready to go. So I should be able to go into MasterLink. So now I should be able to come back to MasterLink and connect up to the site. So I've already entered this unit into my site list, and I've got the site ID, the user ID, the default access code of 33333, set my internet phone type to internet, and here is my IP address. One thing that's important to know is that if you get an IP address and it has only 2 digits in one of the groups, do not put in a leading 0. For whatever reason, MasterLink, and I know also AutoSolve, that'll cause it to actually call a wrong IP address. I'm not sure why that happens, but just be aware that that's the case. And as I mentioned, we have the TCP port is 12345. So I'm going to hit save and come back here, and I'm going to click on the Internet Connect option. If I'd like to look at the comm monitor, I can see what data is going out and coming back from the unit. Usually, if you see anything at all coming back, you're in business. But sometimes when you have a bad SIM card setup or something like that, you may just be sitting there watching, the screen, waiting for something to happen. So sometimes that can be helpful. So here is our EC350 parameters that we can look at: our corrected volume, our uncorrected volumes. We can't change anything from the dashboard, but we can just look at them. Notice this signal strength. If you're used to a 3G or 2.5G modem like the CNI2 or the Raven XT, this looks like a terrible, terrible signal strength. But on 4G, this is actually not bad. We're good down to maybe a minus 115 or minus 120. Whereas with a 3G modem, once we got back down to minus 90, we were about done. So that's right now tells me I've got everything set. I've communicated with this guy over the air. So I need to go back and I need to remember to turn off that MI wireless mode so that we don't kill the battery. And that is here under radio configuration, modem wireless enable. Set it back to disable. You must remember to click the checkbox and say write, and we will write that to the modem. And then, as a matter of fact, since I've done some configuration changes, I always like to, before I disconnect from somebody I've made changes to, I'm going to read an item file. And again, instead of sitting there wondering if something's happening, I'll bring up the comm monitor. See, yeah, okay, I'm still connected. I'm getting data. Okay, so I've got that all saved. I'm going to disconnect. I have to remember to cycle the power, or just unplug it at this point, the power to the Cloudlink until I'm ready to use it, because it's still in that MI wireless mode until I cycle the power.